All right, all right. Hello, everyone, and now welcome to a game. Happy versus Moon. This game taking place here on Tyrannus Stand. On the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have Happy spawning as the blue undead, going up against, well, Moon, someone who needs no introduction, spawning on the top left. If you guys haven't seen the Stormgate premiere match between, I believe it was well, no, I don't want to spoil anything for all you guys out there who may watch it. Definitely check it out. Stormgate, the next potential real-time strategy game that, well, people will be clamoring over, and hopefully, well, people will find a way to enjoy the game and play it well. Happy quickly is taking that Forest Troll Shadow Priest, Lightning Shield now on that Archer, as that Forest Troll Shadow Priest is trying to, well, break its way out here. Meanwhile, we can see that the Warden is coming across here. Is this Shadow Strike gonna go down? It is, and I believe that was a deny there. Warden does have some experience, but I don't know if the Acolyte got the final shot off or perhaps something else did. Meanwhile, we're looking at the Warden trying to finish off the remainder of this creep camp as the Death Knight down on the south side here with the Sacrificial Skull going to be able to heal up some of these units and perhaps start summoning up that Ziggurat. Moon not going for that classic Fire Lord. Now, thank you for the sub. I'm not even, well, that might be a YouTube sub. Yeah, probably a YouTube sub, since I'm not streaming on a Twitch. Anyways, let's come across back down to the south side here. Detonation, removing some of that precious blight. Death Knight is at level 2, gets a death coil off. Is he going to pick up that Tome of Intelligence or Agility? That is the question there. Or is the Warden going to be able to go after it? Quickly picks it up as the Warden now backs away. Warden does have Shadow Strike, hasn't chosen a second ability as of yet, and most likely what will happen is the Warden will try and pick off a ghoul with the Shadow Strike, only to have it be last minute saved by the Death Knight's Death Coil. We've seen this time and time again. Meanwhile, back in the base of Happy, he is not going for a fast expand, or he is not going for tier 2, so we should be looking at an expo here. Moon is now being forced to try and move over with this Warden to figure out what's going on. Boots of Speed, no Staff of Teleportation, no Boots of Speed. Death Knight has now double Circlets of Nobility as the Warden makes its way back off to the north. Tyrannus Stand, a classic map for Warden play, as the Warden, well, needs to figure out its long-term strategy still. You can see, it sounds like ghouls are clearing out an easy green creep camp away from all of the action now, as the Warden is just, well, buying time wandering around. We can see a couple of archers and Forest Troll Shadow Priest. This is actually going to be ripe for the picking. Dust of Appearance is on the Death Knight. That means 1 or 2 archers could easily get taken down here. One more final shot, perhaps followed by a Death Coil. No, just going to go ahead and try and take his chances with those natural strikes. Takes down the archer in the end. Meanwhile, Warden picks up a Mantle of Intelligence, is now going to go ahead and teleport back home and perhaps try and heal up before getting back into the action here. It feels like Moon's tempo is a little bit off here. Happy was able to set up an expo pretty much without any real harassment, and now Moon has a delayed tech to tier 2 as he's setting up his own Tree of Life. Alright, low hit point ghoul gonna go ahead and be saved here. Warden needs to figure out which targets he wants to go after, and there is a lot of ranged piercing damage with a bunch of fairly full Moon Wells that's gonna give Moon a decisive defensive edge. Moon now trying to go after another low hit point ghoul, unable to do so. Beautiful body blocking by the Death Knight, as Moon is going to be setting up this Tree of Life to perhaps set up an expo of his own. Acolytes are nearly there, a 5th and final Acolyte, and then we should be looking at a tech to tier 2. Happy is going to be behind, though, as Moon started his tech to tier 2 much earlier. All right. After all of this craziness here, well, Shadow Strike onto a ghoul. Ghoul Death Coil does find his target. The Shadow Strike does slow down that ghoul while dealing a little bit of damage over time, and that ghoul is just desperately trying to get away. A second Shadow Strike needed to get the job done. Meanwhile, Death Knight is nearing level 3 here. It does have a Ring of Protection +4, which most likely will be sold, as Happy is up on 2 bases and now started that tech to tier 2. Meanwhile, Moon is finishing his tech to tier 2 and setting up a Tree of Life in that center expansion location. Tree of Life needs to absorb a lot of that damage, and, well, doing exactly that. Meanwhile, Warden headed off to the north does pick up the boots of speed that I was expecting earlier, and is now trying to clear out this Forest Troll High Priest creep camp. 6 minutes and 30 seconds into this game. Both sides just doing a little bit of creeping action. Warden looks like it will be a solo Warden strategy, Tree of Ages, and that Warden getting a little bit of bonus experience while at tier 2 and a solo hero. Meanwhile, Death Knight will most likely not stay as a solo act, as Dust of Appearance quickly destroyed right there. We should be getting up a Lich or a Dark Ranger as that second hero. Graveyard now getting summoned into play as the Warden wants to do some, well, harassment tricks. Is it going to be able to blink across this ravine here and perhaps get some damage? Yes, does exactly that. Shadow Strike on one Acolyte. Acolyte taking some damage, trying to get some more damage on a second Acolyte. Is it going to be able to get the Shadow Strike there? Doesn't want to do so. Wanda mana stealing, removing precious mana from that Warden, as the Warden now trying to head out. There's a Shadow Strike right there. Death Coil should be inbound from the Death Knight. There's a save as the Warden is once again now out of mana. That Wanda mana stealing taking 65 mana as opposed to the original 50. That was a big deal and a big difference maker there, as the Warden then no longer had an easy another Shadow Strike or a blink to get out of that dangerous position. On top of that, Death Knight still fairly full on mana. Could try and finish off some more of these units again as we see some exchanging of blows. Happy sitting on 2 bases. So is Moon. Moon looking to get full saturation after repairing this Tree of Life, getting it back up to near full and letting natural regeneration take it the rest of the way perhaps. Well, no, I guess those buildings need to eat a tree in order to get that regeneration. All right, I always, for some reason, I thought the trees themselves had some natural regeneration if they were that particular type. All right, Warden, if at first you don't succeed, try again, and that's exactly what we're looking at here. Nerubian Tower now getting some damage across as the Warden unable to finish anything. Needs to get 2 Shadow Strikes to get the job done here. Acolyte gonna take a Death Coil there as the Warden, while still trying to do a little bit of chasing. You can see this constant game as the Warden is able to blink across the chasm again. All right. Tyrannus stand, constant blinking, constant harassing, just using that Warden well, and now also adding in a Goblin Zeppelin into the play. Moon's base is, well, pretty sparse when you take a look at it overall. Tyrannus Stand's layout makes it so that you don't need that much natural defense, and just more so here at your natural expansion, since it is so close to the center of the map. Warden taking this opportunity to clear out a relatively easy creep camp, which will give level 4. Meanwhile, Happy avoiding that low upkeep taxes by staying at 49 supply, briefly jumping into 51. Now, as the Death Knight and the Lich start working together, there is going to be a window where the Warden is going to get to level 5 first. A level 5 Warden going up against, say, a level 3 and a level 2, or level 4, level 2 Lich. The Warden seems to have some advantages, or maybe even trying to get up to level 6 first. However, the Undead could then come back over the top as we see a Scroll of Town Portal for a tactical retreat to head back home. Now, the Warden's solo act may not be strong enough, though, as the Warden still doesn't have that much experience, even though we are at Tree of Eternity getting, I believe, 30% bonus experience for this Warden now. It's going to come down to the Sasquatch being able to get enough. We see a Tome of Retraining into Fan of Knives, as we're also going into Ancients of Wind. Druids of the Claw are already at Mastery Training, as the Warden needs to clear out more of these bases and get to level 5. Meanwhile, the Death Knight and the Lich are working together over time, and they've been able to clear out a number of difficult creep camps in the center portion of the map that Moon originally needed to clear out first. All right, this green creep camp isn't going to get the job done. Meanwhile, Happy's Gargoyles and Lich already moving out across the battlefield here, going to go in and clean up some of these other units. Warden, well, Illusion, is it going to try and get away? And that illusion right there, just trying to blink away. And does Happy realize that it is an illusion? Yes, he does, and is no longer going to give chase. Moon is sitting on 1,200 gold. Meanwhile, Happy is sitting at 67 supply. Pretty much the same exact thing when you spend all of that gold. Moon is purposely trying to stay out of low upkeep, but is still one wisp over the limit, sitting at 51 supply now. All right. Gold being mined by both sides is about the same as the Warden now looks to back up. Warden just shy of level 5. Well, 92 experience shy of level 5. What is the Warden's plans now? Well, Death Knight's plan, get to level 4, pick up some powerful items going into that next battle. Dreadlord also bringing in 2 scrolls of healing. One of those scrolls of healing may be handed off to the Death Knight or the most likely the Death Knight, since the Lich has nothing, no item slots. And this is something that people often forget about in Warcraft 3 on your heroes. Those 6 additional item spots allows you to bring more consumables into a battle, and thereby boosting your army, even if it's just sitting at level 1. Well, or where now, in this case, level 2. All right, Panda is out here on the battlefield. Does go for Drunken Haze first. There's a quick roar as the Warden wants to finish off the remainder of these creep camps. There are Hippogriffs out as well, but is the battle going to get started here? Panda sitting at level 2. Drunken Haze, Breath of Fire, Death Coil, and there is a big sleep on the Brewmaster. There's a Fan of Knives there, as both sides need to engage. The Hippogriffs need to fight around as well. The Brewmaster needs to wake up. There's a Drunken Haze. There's a Breath of Fire. And now both sides are just racking up damage. Warden is in trouble. Forced to use a Scroll of Town Portal. Was down to 100 hit points as the Gargoyles chase after all of those Hippogriffs now. And on top of this, the Dreadlord has Vampiric Aura. That is incredibly powerful for these melee Gargoyles who do crazy amounts of damage at fast speeds. Then add in that Vampiric Aura, and suddenly they are able to drain hit points at an incredibly fast rate. Yeah, I've talked about it in the past, but I don't remember the last time Vampiric Aura on the Gargoyles would actually be as defining as it is right now, especially with the number of Hippogriffs that are in the air. All right, coming back around, we're still looking at decent amounts of gold, decent army sizes for both sides. 4-3-2 going up against a 5-2. The Panda needs to get to level 3 and get there quickly in order to improve the effectiveness of that Breath of Fire. Meanwhile, Warden continuing to do a bunch of harassment, able to harass down across here, has taken down one Acolyte. A new Acolyte will be forced to be trained. There's another big Fan of Knives. Is it going to try and blink away? Yes, it shall. All right, it looks like we kind of see the end game strategies from both of these sides here. Warden with Fan of Knives and Breath of Fire trying to, help his army and deal with those Gargoyles. The Gargoyles, however, with Stone Form and regenerating health on Blight, just regenerating health at a crazy fast rate. You can see that the Vampiric Aura is at level 1, and a Sleep may be there in time to shut down a Breath of Fire or a well-timed Fan of Knives, allowing the Gargoyles to regenerate enough hit points off of that Vampiric Aura and, heal over time. Main gold mines have about 6 minutes of mining left. And this next battle with these types of army compositions is going to be at an incredibly fast pace. Units will be dropping, and whoever gets that initial burst of momentum first can usually carry it to victory. You can see that the Warden is holding onto an anti-magic shell potion, knowing that it is a high priority target. the fact that this Brewmaster is still sitting at level 2 is going to be a major setback for Moon, since he's not going to really be able to burst down these gargoyles nearly as quickly as he would like. You can see there is that blink and fan of knives right there, dealing a decent amount of damage onto those gargoyles pretty much immediately. But now they're just going to be able to stone form, back away, and regenerate all those hit points again. Warden trying to come back across here. No fan of knives across all of those gargoyles, as we see 2/2 upgrades across all the units on the battlefield. All right, at this point, this game now becomes a bit of a staring contest, trying to see who's going to blink and flinch first. The first person to make even the smallest of mistakes here ends up becoming a bit of a target, as we're looking at the Tree of Life just constantly taking little bouts of damage back and forth. 76 supply compared to 79. No one's ready to quite engage just quite yet. And, well, no one's actually getting too trigger happy either, as Happy also placing down some additional ziggurats right nearby to prevent that easy access for the Warden's blink. All right, I'm not quite sure how that blink would work. If you try and blink across now, you may be able to get in, but trying to blink back, would it still work? It might notice the river and just not be able to put you into that position at all. Shades are strategically placed around the map by Happy to keep track of any potential secret moon bases that Moon is, well, customary or accustomed to trying to establish. All right, there's a blink and a fan of knives, but all of that mana only accounting for 210 damage on a gargoyle, which is quickly getting erased anyways. Was it 180? Yeah, I think it might have been 190. All right, meanwhile, Hippogriff's able to find a quick target. Both sides are engaging. Vampiric Aura now helping for the Dreadlord. Both sides are going to try and fight. There's a quick roar. 70 supply compared to 74. There's a healing ward and now placed down to try and heal back up all of these units again. The Hippogriffs do have roar, which gives them significantly more damage over their counterparts, but they don't have that Vampiric Aura benefit. Units going to try and engage. There's some slow poison there. There's a fan of knives. There's a breath of fire gargoyle. A split second late there as the Brewmaster inches closer to level 3. Remember, that level 3 difference is going to be rather large. As you can see, those gargoyles now are absorbing quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, the Warden down to 122 mana. She needs a mana pot in order to continue this type of strategy. 2/3 upgrades on both sides now. The Hippogriffs, 3/2 upgrades for those Hippogriffs, and now up to 3/3 as units are looking to back away again. Warden blinked back or got sent back home to try and heal up a little bit more mana, back up to 280. So those fan of knives should come in pretty heavily. Meanwhile, the gargoyles and destroyers are trying to engage down this entangled gold mine, and this is going to be a potential problem. Both sides are trying to go after each other's units here, but the entangled gold mine has completely been destroyed. Trying to re-entangle that gold mine now. Hippogriffs appearing right overhead, but the hero's able to back away. Mana on these Druids of the Claw representing damage for the Hippogriffs is a big deal, as the Warden still stands off to the side with an Orb of Venom, enabling her to attack air. All right, blink across the river, trying to chase down some of those units. However, nowhere to be found again, as we are still in this staring contest phase. There's a blink across the river only to be blocked. And now there's a big fan of knives right there. Is the Warden going to be able to blink back? Yes, it does. Damage done across all of those gargoyles. But yeah, the double ziggurat positioned in such a way so that, that back door has been reinforced. Warden teleports all the way back home. The improved capacity on these moonwells was completed. Meanwhile, we should probably be looking at more more moonstones perhaps used as well to try and fill up these other moon wells. That's the last thing you want, is after a fight not be able to recover easily. There goes the hippogriff, or there goes the Goblin Zeppelin. Is the Warden going to be able to back away, trying to blink away now and able to blink across to the far side. One acolyte taken down. That's just going to be quickly trained back up. But this is just a battle of attrition, trying to get every bit of experience that you can. 3/3 upgrades on these hippogriffs. But what is an odd situation to be in is that once Happy loses all of these gargoyles, the hippogriffs are pretty much useless. With that said, though, there are so many gargoyles on the map. I don't think you can actually, if you take down all the gargoyles, well, then Happy is already in trouble. All right, acolytes being led into the battlefield only to free up supply. Circlet of Nobility being left behind here as all of the heroes, except for the Dreadlord, maxed out on items. All right, Warden still hiding off on the side here. Hippogriffs trying to retreat back. A lot of hippogriffs here, 53 to 81. Maximize the hit points and that armor. Who is going to come out on top? Still difficult to say. Tree of Life already moving to be transplanted here to the top right. Warden quickly takes down that acolyte on the bottom left, and as the gargoyles are going to be getting into position. Brewmaster, Drunken Haze, Breath of Fire. There's a Drunken Haze. There's a Breath of Fire. There's a little bit of damage as that is all trailing there. There's Staff of Teleportation inbound, and both sides are fighting through. All right, Vampiric Aura, Fan of Knives, and that is just a crazy battle over top. Scroll of Protection to try and counteract as well, devouring the Scroll of the Beast. And who is coming out on top? 56 supply compared to 91. Moon losing the majority of his units as the gargoyles are simply just overpowering. The Panda not being able to get to level 3 may have been the difference there. That initial Breath of Fire not doing enough damage, and then having the Scrolls of Healing just replenish all of those hit points while the hippogriffs were just chomped out of the sky. 61 supply now compared to 91. This Tree of Life was trying to entangle a gold mine. Not going to have such luck. And, well, with that, Moon's expo attempt is going to fall a bit short. All right, going into the next battle, 57 supply compared to 91. The next battle isn't going to be as close as the first one. And the first one, well, Happy was already had a dominating lead in that exchange. We may even see some heroes level up. Death Knight get up to level 5 here as, well, Moon is forcing a fight. All right, Ancient of War going to get taken down. Here we are going into an engagement. Scrolls of Healing. You can see the obsidian statues sleep onto the Brewmaster. Brewmaster finally gets a Breath of Fire off, but finally gets to level 3 after all this time. Is it going to be too little, too late, though? 45 supply compared to 85, and that is the case. Happy is victorious. Moon has left the game. That initial fight just going Happy's way so well. That third hero, that Dreadlord, being able to initiate a sleep on that Panda, neutralize him, and get that momentum going was all Happy needed. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below.